In today's lesson, we're going to look at a basic lesson in matching verbs to subjects. We're going to look at some pronouns and we're going to look at the preparatory subject there. Okay? I'll explain what that means. So generally speaking, you've learned from basic classes, your verb will match the subject, right? If the subject is singular, the verb will be singular. If the subject is plural, the verb will be plural, right? Now here we have a little bit of a problem. Why? Because the word there is not actually the subject of the sentence. This is called a preparatory subject. Preparatory subject. Which means that it's taking the place of the subject which comes later, it comes after the verb. The reason we do that is because to begin the sentence with a long subject doesn't feel comfortable. So we move it to the end of the sentence and we put there in its place. So generally now what you have to understand is that when you use there is or there are, the verb matches the noun after it, which is the subject, right? So there is a person, there is a man in the room. There are people in the room. So a man is singular, is. People, plural, are, right? But then you have a sentence like this. There is or are a chair, a table, and a TV in the room. So a lot of people get confused. They're not sure. Do I match it to the chair, which is singular? Or do I match it to 1, 2, 3 things which create a compound subject and is plural? Now, if you hear native speakers speaking, most of them will use is. There is a chair, a table, and a TV in the room. It just sounds more natural. But technically, the correct verb is are, because a chair, a table, and a TV are in the room. This is your subject. It is a plural subject. You're going to need the plural verb to complete the sentence. So one way to test if your verb should be a singular or a plural is to rearrange the sentence. Put the actual subject before the verb and then match the verb to the subject. Don't match it to there because there is nothing. Okay? So now, speaking of rearranging, the best way to not have any confusion or to not feel awkward is not to use sentences beginning with there is, there are. Most writers and editors will tell you that sentences beginning with there is, there are weak sentences. They're not powerful sentences, and you should try to avoid them. So, a chair, a table, and a TV are in the room, okay? Or, I walked into the room and I saw a TV, a chair, and a chair, a table, and a TV. Make a new sentence. Put the items as objects, put something else as a subject, make sure your verbs match or agree, and then you'll avoid all the awkwardness. Now, before I go on, let me give you another example. There's all types of people, there are all types of people. Now, all types of people, this is a plural, and you should say there are all types of people. But people, native speakers, don't like the are. There are, right? It's a little bit uncomfortable for the tongue to say. Plus, it's two syllables. Theirs is one syllable and easier to say, easier for the mouth. So many, if not most, native English speakers will say there's all types of people. There's 5 cars in the parking lot. There's a few people at the bar, whatever the situation is. Even though it's not correct, people will say this more often than not, okay? So now, what do you have to understand about English? There's correct English, and then there is commonly used English. They're not always the same, okay? Native speakers basically make grammar mistakes all the time, and it's acceptable. It's accepted because so many people do it. Now, another thing to keep in mind. Spoken English, written English. If you say there's all types of people, if you say there's 5 cars in the parking lot, nobody will even think twice, the conversation will continue. In writing, it's a problem. In writing, you can confuse the reader because remember, when you're speaking to someone, you're using your hands, you're using your face to basically convey some meaning. In writing, there's only the reader and the words. If you make grammar mistakes in written English, you can make it very difficult for the reader. When you're writing, be correct. When you're speaking, be comfortable. That's the key point here. And in writing and speaking, if you're not comfortable, if you're not sure, change the sentence around. Make a new sentence, but keep the same meaning. Now, I want to look at some of these pronouns because sometimes these give people a little bit of a confusion, right? Each or every person. Each and every will always take a singular. Each person means each individual. Every basically means all the individual people. So we're still talking about every person in the group. We're not talking about the whole group as one group. We're talking about all the individuals in the group, and that's why we're using the singular verb. Okay, so each and every, we're talking about each individual in the group. And because we're talking about each individual, we're using is. On the other hand, when we look at all, we're still looking at all the individuals, but we're looking at them as a collection. So now there's not one person individually, there are many people in the group, and we're looking at all of them, and so we're using the plural verb, are. All the people are welcome to join the conversation, okay? On the other hand, the whole. Now, the whole, this is not a pronoun. Your noun, your subject is going to be here, the whole group. So now we're taking all the people, but we're not looking at the people. We're looking at the collection, the group, the one unit, even though it has all the little different pieces in it. So the whole group is welcome to join us for lunch, okay? So whole, singular, all, plural, okay? So remember that. Then we have none. None basically means no one single person or no one single thing. Now, generally we use it with none of, okay? None of the students, for example. So similarly to there is or there is the correct way and then there's the common way. In correct English, none is always singular, especially when you have of, okay? None of the students is. Not any single student, we're talking about the individuals, is excused or free to go. But again, in informal speech, you will hear many people say none of the students are free to go. Very common, technically not correct. Is correct. But in spoken English, if you use are, okay. In written English, you should try to use is, be correct. Now, sometimes you'll see none without the of. So I asked some of my staff to volunteer for this project, but none are interested. Again, most people will use are because we're talking about a few people. But technically, none is interested is the correct way. Now, spoken English, say whichever one you feel comfortable with. If you're going to be taking a university entrance exam, like the SAT or the GMAT, okay? These have a grammar section. Each of these exams has a grammar section in it. On this grammar section, you have to be correct. They're testing your knowledge of correct grammar. Spoken English, whatever you want. When you need to be correct, be singular for none, okay? And same with neither or either. Neither is or are. Again, spoken English, neither. I asked the two of them to come to the party, but neither is available. Neither are available. Neither is coming, neither are coming. And I know that only one of them will come, but I don't know if it's either her or him that is going to come. Singular. So these, because it's one or the other, singular or singular, correct is. Commonly used or acceptable are. Neither of us is coming, neither of us are coming. Again, although it's a plural, correct is, commonly acceptable is are, your choice. Written English, be correct is for this pronoun. We're going to look at a few of the indefinite pronouns, different pronouns, and see how they work as well. Okay, so now we have these other pronouns. These are called indefinite pronouns. Everybody or everyone, somebody, anybody, nobody. Whenever you're using these as subjects of your sentence, they're always going to be singular. Always everybody is, never everybody are. Now, if you want to say are, you say all the people, right? Then you have to split it up and use the pronoun all. But as soon as you're using it as one word, everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody, you're using is. On the other hand, something is. We don't know what it is. It's an indefinite pronoun, but it's one. Something is. If you want to use plural, don't forget 2 words. Some things are. It's no longer a pronoun. Now you have a qualifier and you have an actual noun subject, okay? Everything is, all things are. 2 words. This is a noun. This is a pronoun. Is, are. Anything and nothing is, okay? These you can't split up, and they're always going to be singular. So when you have indefinite pronouns, singular. When you want plural, split them up into nouns and qualifiers, okay? That's basically it. So if you have any questions about this, please go to engvid.com and ask in the comment section. There is also a quiz on the site where you can test your understanding of the verb matching with these pronouns. And if you like the video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to watch other videos on engVid. We have over 1,000 videos to help you improve your English. I have over 100 videos that you can watch. Grammar, vocab, all kinds of things on writing, etc. Go there, watch, ask, improve your English slowly but surely. So, I'll see you again very soon with some new lessons. Bye-bye.